In this video, I have to survive 100 Minecraft days starting with only one block. Every time I break a block, a new one spawns, and the longer I mine, the more difficult the phases become. On day 1, I started making a small platform because space was going to be super important going forward, especially starting with only one block. I worked on my island and I made a little side island for the animals because they were going to be too much and I knew that they were going to start falling off and I definitely didn't want that. Day 2, I mostly spent mining the block, which I do most days, and moving some animals into the pen, which was a massive chore without any crops. On the morning of day 3, I finally began to expand my island, and I placed some chests which I used to practice only the best of Minecraft organizational skills. On day 4, I was mining, and I got my first few mobs who I was definitely not prepared for and almost died to, which was immediately followed by a creeper. Both of these inspired me to make a little protection for the block so the mobs couldn't as easily get to me. My first skeleton finally came. I was excited to kill it to tame the wolf that I had just got, but the wolf ended up knocking it over. And so when the next skeleton came, I was even more excited, but it happened again. On day 7, I got my first raid, and after unsuccessfully trying to fight back, I decided to just jump into the water and hope they go away, which luckily after some waiting they do, and this is going to be a tactic that you see a ton because I would have definitely died if I had to just fight every mob that I saw. Day 8 was spent expanding my farm, 1 for carrots and 1 for melons and pumpkins, and by the end I was really starting to feel like my base was coming together with a nice farm, animal spot, main base. I thought it looked pretty good, and apparently the game had it out for me on days 11 and 12 because I spent basically the whole day fighting stuff and almost dying, but at least I made a lot of progress on the block. And on day 13, the block finally got upgraded again, and I could tell almost immediately it was the jungle phase because some parrots flew out, and later in the day I had to fight my very least favorite mob, which are the Vexes. Day 14, I decided to use all of the underwater blocks that were just sitting in my chest to build a new segment of my base, which was going to be an ocean themed segment for water farms, and just because I thought it would look nice, and it ended up looking pretty good. I started day 15 by filling in the little hole I had made and continued to expand the ocean side of the base because you can never have enough space in one block Minecraft. On day 16, I really wanted to keep expanding my base because I felt a little claustrophobic, so I built a massive platform to use as my temporary home and base. On day 17, I once again had to fight some Vexes, and while fighting one, he kind of just phased through the floor like this and just disappeared. I'm not really complaining, but I'm not sure what happened there. After filling up all my chests with random garbage, I decided I definitely needed to expand my storage on day 18, but I make no promises to improve my organizational skills. Day 20 was a rainy day, which seemed like the perfect opportunity to start building out the garden. So I added some bamboo, I added a sweet berry farm, and later in the day I spent some more time mining and mined all the ways to the next phase, which I was really excited for. But before that, I decided to take my bed and move it over to my base for a good night's sleep. On day 24, I was finally able to test out my new gear on some husks, but other than that, the day was kind of slow. One of my biggest goals was to build a big castle as my final base, and so I decided to spend day 25 building a small castle around what would be my temporary base to tide me over until I built the whole castle. Day 26 marks the start of the nether phase, and it began with a bang with me almost dying to 2 hoglins, but I awakened my inner dream and juked them out perfectly, and then I hid in the water and cheesed them from there. I also realized that there might be blazes or gas in the future because it was the nether theme, so I replaced some of the wood around my platform with cobble just so that if a fire did happen it wouldn't spread too bad and just destroy my base. Almost right after that there was a blaze, so pretty lucky, but it did almost kill me, so not that lucky. On day 29, more blazes spawned, and I was really starting to regret making my base out of wood, but I was able to kill them before they burned down my whole base. On day 30, I hit this awesome snipe on this gas, and I finished the day by milking some mushrooms. By day 31, I was really tired of the nether mobs and had another close call with this gas who ended up just fading into the void. I decided day 32 was the time to upgrade the garden and use my beehive to start a small honey farm. I actually ended up getting some hostile bees from the block, so I ran over to the garden and tried to lure them over. I did end up getting one, which I didn't think I got any, so that was pretty lucky, and I tried not to die, which I had luckily been successful at so far. Then I tried to lure this bee, but I think he was a little bit special because he kind of just dive bombed into the void. On days 30 and 34, I realized my animal collection was starting to get a little bit too big for the original pen that I had built, so I worked on expanding it and separating the animals. Sadly, I had lost most of the animals that would actually be valuable for me, like chickens and sheep, so I basically just had pigs, cows, and horses. On the morning of day 35, I got a raid, but it was mostly just bees and phantoms, so it wasn't too hard. Then I started work on the final portion of the animal pen, which would hopefully be a villager farm. I wasted a ton of time for some reason moving this wandering trader into my villager pen, even though he had nothing valuable to give me and I really didn't need him. Day 37 was pretty eventful. I spent the morning collecting the nether materials and started building a nether island built off of the home base that I had made. And I really impatiently, in the middle of building the island, made a nether portal to see if the nether was one block, because I wasn't totally sure how the nether would work, but it turned out to just be normal nether. So I used the nether to collect a ton of netherrack to finish my nether island. I spent all of day 38 mining, and it was mostly boring other than these creepers, which decided to start a remodel of my island, which I thought was pretty thoughtful. After waking up hopeful on day 39, I was immediately greeted by a pack of skeleton horse, skeleton jockeys. I'm not sure what you call them, but I guess they had a power struggle or something, because I ended up just watching them kill each other, which was pretty nice. And I got a bunch of free skeleton horses out of the deal. On day 40, I once again ventured into the nether, but this time it was to get lava so that I could build one of the big projects I had coming up, but also to build an enchantment table, and I turned 4 of the lavas into obsidian to start work on enchanting my armor and gear, just because I knew that the mobs were going to start getting harder a lot faster. I decided to switch to my laptop on day 42, which was an absolutely awful idea because I almost died to these skeleton jockeys and I lost my totem, which I had literally just gotten like a minute before. But whatever, at least I didn't die, I guess. Day 43 started out with a bang, and then I used the rest of the day to prepare for the big project, which was the castle that I was going to start building tomorrow. On day 44, I had a few issues with my new shader pack, and I really don't know why it looked like this, but it was pretty cool. Eventually I got it working, and it is way better than the old texture pack. I can't believe I was using that thing. I took this opportunity to admire my island, and then I decided on a place where I was going to build my castle and started building. Since you made it to day 50, that probably means that you liked the video. So if you did make it this far, make sure that you are subscribed and to give this video a like. That's it. Keep enjoying the video. Thanks. On day 61, I decided that the castle was definitely in need of something, and that something was, of course, a massive flag, which I made out of wood and I made to look like a duck, but I only made it out of wood because I didn't get any sheep earlier. Otherwise, I definitely would have. But regardless of that, once I was done, I really liked the look of the wooden duck flag, and I think it made the perfect accent to my castle. For the next 3 days, I continued working on the castle. I started by replacing the floor to something that looked a lot better, which was spruce slabs. I then decorated the entrance by adding some lava and a little moat kind of gate thing in front, but I didn't put the lava next to it because it was going to burn it, obviously. Then I started working on the displays that would be inside of the castle because, of course, you know that I have to show off my valuables. I mean, what's the point of having valuables if people don't know it? So I made some display cases. On days 65 and 66, I spent most of the day working and making sure the castle was absolutely perfect, lighting up the insides and everything. And I showed off my pro gamer skills by killing this creeper that would have been super annoying if it blew up. Absolutely crazy. I started day 67 by admiring my base, which I think it was turning out really well. Later in the day, I had a close call with a few endermen who almost killed me, but it kind of seemed like they just decided I wasn't worth their time once I was on half a heart, which I was super thankful for, but I promise I wasn't cheating. I really don't know what happened here. On day 68, I did some asset management and I made sure that the baby animals were nice and traumatized because I'm pretty sure it says on the Minecraft wiki it makes them drop more XP. On day 69, I got this awesome pickaxe which had fortune on it and it was just absolutely perfect. I really hope that I don't lose this. Day 70 had a really hectic start with a raid that scared me so bad that I dropped the amazing pickaxe that I had literally just made and now I have no pickaxes. Day 71 started with a shulker fight, but luckily my fountain saved me. Later while mining, I got my third and final wither skeleton skull, which means I was totally ready to fight the wither, but I didn't want to do that until I killed the ender dragon. Day 72 started just like day 71 with another shulker fight, and after that I decided to go enchanting again, and I got what would normally be a pretty bad pickaxe in normal survival, but for this challenge it's pretty good because really the only enchantment I needed was fortune and maybe unbreaking, both of which this had, so I'm not complaining. Day 73, I started by moving the wither to above my bed because I definitely think it looked cooler there, and then I took some time to enjoy the rain because it looked incredible with the shader pack, and watch this enderman kind of just dance around in the rain, I guess. Day 75 started out amazing by being able to save this wolf and finally taming a wolf for the first time. I was literally so happy. I could already imagine us both running up to the ender dragon and killing him together. The best of friends, but yeah, I don't really want to talk about what happened. I don't really want to talk about it. I spent all of day 76 mourning the loss of my dog, but during that I got some XP and I enchanted my armor because I knew that tomorrow was likely going to be the day that I entered the end and beat the ender dragon. Day 77 is finally the day that we enter the end. But before that, I wanted to look at some islands that I died on. The first one was pretty basic and I died really early. The second one, I was starting to get the hang of it, but I got knocked off while trying to tower away from a spider. My third attempt had a pretty good layout with a second floor and even a villager named Owen. Looking at my base, I'm pretty sure you can all tell how I died. And my fourth attempt was also pretty far in, and I think the layout for this one would have been absolutely amazing if I was able to get this one to 100 days, but you can see the culprit is this stray who took me out before I even got any armor. Now back to the end. After lighting the end portal and grabbing some final stuff, I entered the dragon fight very excited. I started by shooting the crystals, but very quickly got bored of that, and so decided to just ender pearl up to the towers, which seems really dumb in retrospect. It went absolutely amazingly on my first throw, but I got a little bit too confident and threw the ender pearl at nothing. I thought there was a ledge there, but there definitely wasn't, and I almost died. And after somehow not learning my lesson, I tried a few more times. I still had arrows, but I just never learned my lesson, and I wanted to do it with ender pearls.
5 minutes later.
So I decided to just cave in and stack up, and I broke the final crystal. I was excited to finally kill the dragon, and after a few hits, he gave me a mini heart attack. And from there on, I was definitely a lot more careful. I was able to beat the dragon as a crowd of endermen watched in awe. After some celebrating, I grabbed the 65 levels and the egg and started work immediately on the display for my egg at my house, because I think it's a Minecraft rule that you have to build a massive statue to the end egg once you beat the ender dragon, obviously. Right after waking up on day 78, I made sure to diligently fill in my creeper holes and then started to get ready to venture back into the end because I wanted to do a little bit of end busting, which was probably really stupid, but I filled up my shulkers with blocks and headed into the end. After entering the end portal or whatever, I chose a random direction and just started going. After a very long time of placing and running, I finally found an insane end city that even had an end ship. After angering one too many shulkers, I managed to matrix my way around the shulkers and got some pretty good loot. I then went around the rest of the city and got a ton of diamond stuff, diamond armor, and some really valuable materials because I hadn't gotten much of anything from my block material or resource wise. After this shulker Creeper generously helped me get into his end ship. I was able to take the elytra, and I made sure all of my materials were stored safely in my shulker boxes before heading back to my island. First thing I did after getting back to my island on day 80 was to fly around and look at how my base was coming together, and I'd have to say the castle was an amazing addition, and it really pulls the whole base together. On day 81, I decided to use my elytra and new materials I got from the end and go back to the end, and I started flying and flying and flying, and I was almost out of durability, and my elytra was super low on rockets, but then the craziest thing happens, and I found absolutely nothing, and I was stuck in the middle of the end with basically no way back because I had just flown very, very far away on like a zigzag line, so I was absolutely stuck.
A great success!
Day 82 was spent entirely mining and bridging and running across end islands, trying to find either an end city or one of the end portals that would hopefully bring me back. After what felt like literally forever on day 83, I finally found one of the portal things and was able to make it back to my base successfully. I'm not sure why I did this on day 84, but I decided to place the mob eggs I've collected into the display cages in my castle, even though that I knew that they would despawn, but I guess in the end it did look pretty cool. On day 8, I focused on upgrading my sword. I got pretty good enchantments, and on a whim I just decided to enchant this gold pickaxe and got like literally a god pick, but it was too bad it was gold. On day 86, I got a raid which wasn't too scary, but I got pushed in the end by a phantom and definitely almost died to all the mobs that I had just been pushing into the end portal instead of fighting. I was really lucky I ran away super quick. Day 87 was spent mostly mining, but I did get this raid which would have been hard, but I just kind of stood there and they all fell into the end. So didn't want to fall into the end myself, but after that I finished the day by getting my final piece of diamond armor, which made me feel pretty confident about fighting the Wither, which I wanted to do pretty soon. I was trying out my new loyalty trident on day 88, and just like the pickaxe, within literally a minute of me getting it, I threw it into the void, never to see it again. So that was disappointing. Then after some more mining, I got this fox who I was super excited to give a sword, but after going and grabbing it it was just kind of gone. I don't know what happened. It probably fell into the end to die with the hordes and hordes of mobs that I've shoved in there, so RIP fox. On the night of day 89, I went creeper hunting because we were getting pretty close to day 100 and I wanted to get some fireworks to celebrate. I've been spending a ton of time preparing to fight the Wither, and starting day 90 and going on for 3 more days, I started working on a massive platform to spawn the Wither at, and I decided it needed to be right in front of my castle because I thought it'd be cool and cinematic and I could use the archer towers and all that. On day 94, it was the final day before the Wither fight, and I once again upgraded my gear and got some pretty good enchantments. I put water on the platform so that if I were to fall, I'd probably be safe, and I was feeling pretty confident for the Wither fight. Right after waking up on day 95, I started building the Wither and was not expecting the amount of destruction that happened. So luckily, I had just put on a slow falling potion, so I was able to get into one of the water streams, but by the time that I had made it back up, the Wither was just like slowly falling into the void really far away. So I made some futile attempts to kill it, but my aim was incredible. But nevertheless, it eventually just faded into the depths, which was admittedly anticlimactic and disappointing. On the night of day 96, I decided to go creeper hunting again, which I felt pretty safe doing with all the really good gear I sadly didn't get to use on the Wither. I was starting to realize I was really close to day 100 on day 97, so I spent the next 2 days working on the fireworks display and spending both nights just hunting a ton of creepers for their gunpowder. On day 99, which is 100 days eve, I decided to make this little sign for 100 days and just tidied everything up so every single aspect would be ready for day 100. Day 100, the absolute last day, it was a really bittersweet day. Even though most of my base was completely destroyed by the final phase of mobs, I was definitely gonna miss it, and I had a ton of fun doing this challenge. And as I turned on the fireworks display, I did end up missing the chair that I had built, but I was still able to see the sunset with the fireworks in the air and the big 100, which I think is the perfect send-off for this 100 days. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, give this video a like, and let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Peace.